We are so back.
Lancer is a high-combat, mech-fighting, sci-fi TTRPG where you are a pilot of the best combat system in the galaxy, the Lancer, and you're tasked to wander out into the great depths of space, fighting to establish Utopia against mankind's oldest enemy, itself. It's been a long and arduous journey that has led us here, one rife with war, famine, and anti-corporeal weapons that ignores even the most basic laws of physics, thermodynamics, and time. Better pray to Ra and hope we get more of them. Lancer has been the role-playing game that has kept me captivated since the moment I heard of it, and I knew right away I needed to make a video about it. And that time has come. It's finally time to let the funny number fade away and talk about my newest obsession, the masterpiece that is Lancer. Before we can get into the rules, we first have to establish why we're here. As one can imagine, establishing a golden age in space for humanity is quite hard, and as we know from the past, it doesn't always go to plan. And in Lancer, there's 11,000 years of history that sets us up to where we are today, the Third Com Union era. It's quite expansive, so I shall boil it down to you. 6,000 years before there was Union, mankind sets off towards the stars in one of 10 colony ships. Apollo, the first ship, sets off towards a confirmed Gaia world. The planet gets colonized and the final ship departs. A while after, the Earth is doomed. Our continuous fuck-ups with the climate sets off a mass extinction event that lasts for roughly 5,000 years, where mankind is reduced from 15 billion to 500,000, killing over 3 million people each year. Those final remnants of humanity then start finding vaults all over the Earth with tech from before the fall and start rejuvenating. Then, without pause, the merest millisecond after we establish a modicum of stability and security, we start doing it all over again. The Little Wars, as it's dubbed, continue for 53 years until everyone realizes it's retarded and stop to form the first Committee of Union. A unified humanity in pursuit of rebuilding and learning from our mistakes. So, we rebuild, we recolonize, and repopulate our star system for the next 2,000 years, receive some distress calls and leave them on red, and rediscover the Five Voices, a collection of advanced machine minds capable of predicting the future with near-perfect precision. I wonder what it would tell us.
Smoking on Congolese dickwick, looking for a signal. I went dark a long time ago.
Anyway, we get out into space, re-establishing contact with the Gaia world from earlier, and... Distress beacon. Oh yeah, those guys. What? The Method Aun? The monist entity? Which Stellar's artifact is that? What do you mean the Five Voices just created God? Who the fuck is Ra? I don't care! They're occupying space that I want! So take it!
War declared.
And we're back to war. The first Union Committee is dissolved, and we get SecCom, an anthro-chauvinist one-party state that seeks to expand aggressively and dominate known space, with no regards to the amount of human capital and suffering needed to claim it all. Every rock, every creature, every particle is ours, and only the endless waves of men and material can sustain our hunger for more. It's just evolution. Why wouldn't we want more? We deserve it. Our way of life is at the end of a gun barrel. It's a means to an end, which we make by pulling the trigger every time. Just how it's always been meant to be. Oh, you wanted to know more about that god thing? We made peace with it. The Onyx is chill. Sure, Demios is gone, but it's fine. We're fine. We're making chains. During SecCom, we get mechs, but the populace is pissed, so we're starting some revolutions, and now there's a civil war instead. 31 years pass, SecCom gives up, and now we have Third Com, the current Union setting. We are now 400 years in, and life is actually pretty good, mostly positive on Steam. We're having another war with the Onyx, but we're only 16 years into that, so buckle up. We're going out there again. Or are we? Well, you don't have to. The setting of Lancer is extremely unique in the sense that it's actually a pretty pleasant place. This is one of those settings where the majority of humanity actually lives really good lives. Technology is extremely sophisticated and we can do a lot of good with it. This isn't 40K where everything is just crumbling and dying. Sure, things aren't amazing, but they are far better than they've ever been before. There's a place in this setting known as the Core Worlds, a decentralized network of systems that are all connected using blink gates that allow faster-than-light travel between dimensions. On these worlds, the uncountable billions of faiths, cultures, and social structures all come together to exchange their ideas and philosophies. And they're managing to live in some sort of harmony. To the Union, if you come in peace, you get to live in peace and with no wants left unsatisfied. The core pillars of Union stand as an insurance that those wants aren't allowed to be left unattended to. And that's because, in this setting, you actually matter. Your needs aren't insignificant. Your liberty is a priority, not an afterthought. But even so, Union is still run by humans, and all that entails. Diplomacy and bureaucracy is slow, unsatisfying, and even counterproductive at times. Not everyone trusts Union, and for good reason. Its history has many black marks on it, and even the current committee isn't perfect. And that's the gist. Nothing is perfect. There's no such state of being, only a constant pursuit to try and do better than before. Conflict will happen, no matter how hard you try to avoid them, and sometimes that leads to war, catastrophes, refugees, and even the acts of mass murder. Union isn't above all that. It has happened before. But such crimes can be brought up. The administration can be criticized, held to account, and found guilty. Power never gives up power. Let's hold them to account, and they will lose their power, one way or another. And if ever you get lost on your way and feel nothing but doom and gloom, look up and see the naked night skies filled with stars. And there it is. There is the blueprint. Anyway, expose my cockpit to the power cells. We're going undepleted uranium rounds for this. So are we going to conflict? Yes we fucking are. A lot of it. The galactic frontier is not a peaceful place, and the cosmopolitans are fleet-based travelers who go to this frontier, where space is properly hazardous. And the diasporans? They live in this region of space. And where is that region? Everywhere. It's space. I don't know how to explain shit. While the worlds of the galactic core and much of the diaspora have been secured, the ghosts of other factions haunt the Union still. The 10 original colony ships are gathering up to form their own factions and to make a fuck ton of omelets. The Onyx is going on a holy crusade in the name of their communist-manipulated computer god. And then there are the Corpros states, holdouts of SecCom's remnants, ready to take back power and sell you weapons along the way. God bless Harrison. There's no map of space that shows territory, but we do know that the whole Orion arm is ours to play with, and possibly beyond, if you prefer. And as a soldier of Union, you need to maintain and hold the territory. You need to engage in combat. Combat is 85% of the game's action, and it's pretty fucking great. The game uses a hexagonal system for movement, combat, and size variation, where each Lancer can vary from size 1 to size 3, depending on your choice of frame. With every frame comes its size, armor, mounts, and core power. Armor is the flat number of damage that it reduces on hit, excluding some of the special damage types. Mounts determine what sort of weapons you can carry, from auxiliary to super heavy, and even integrated systems that cannot be destroyed. These can be ranged just as well as melee and come with their own terms and requirements for using them. And once a combat mission starts, it is on you how you use them. The combat mission is split into scenes, where you have an overall mission that extends until the end of combat, and in each scene, there will be reinforcements ready to pound you into the dirt. Numerically, you'll always be at a disadvantage, but that is made up for by the sick combat prowess of your Lancers, and your ability to work together. At the start of combat, the players always go first. There's no set turn order for who begins. Instead, the players decide among themselves who wants to go first, and it's completely fluent. The players that started this round can be the last in the next round, and so on. So you'll have to work together to make up a strategy. And when it's finally your turn, you can begin to unleash hell. The action economy is split into different stages, where you first begin to move, then conduct a full action or 2 quick actions. Quick actions let you do skirmish, boost, hide, or to do quick tech attacks, but you cannot do one of these twice. forcing you to be considerate when you approach your next move. Or you can take a full action and go guns blazing with every gun you have, stabilize yourself, or to do a full tech attack like probabilistic cannibalism and dab on their results as you turn the enemy's nat 20 into a nat 1. Some weapons you mount require you to take a certain action to use. For example, a normal main weapon attack only takes a single quick action to use, but the heavy and super heavy weapons may need you to take a full barrage action to use it all. Some of these weapons require you to take an action just to reload, but it can be well worth it for the carnage it can cause. Believe me, I have seen it. Or you can also overcharge, which is something you'll repeat until you burn yourself out. Or you can go all out, just this once, and unleash your core power. Each frame comes with its own core power that can be activated once per mission. These powers vary greatly and can let you harpoon your enemies and reel them in like a caught whale, all the way to piggyback riding your allies into battle with a synced up Spotify playlist. Or fuck it, just show your enemies something so awful, even their onboard AI reels back, shitting and vomiting from your disgusting browsing habits, you incontinent meat. Your combat potential is fantastic, but not without risk. If you take too much damage, you lose a structure point, and each structure is a set amount of HP, usually quite low compared to other games. When you lose a structure point, you pick a god, preferably raw, and pray that when you roll a d6, it's just a glancing hit, because otherwise you'll start losing weapons or get direct hit and burned to cinders when your structure is too low. At least your pilot makes it out alive. He can be a decent soldier, but against shit that's 5 times your size, it doesn't really matter. Get stomped on. The combat in this game is amazing and deserves a lot of praise for the well thought out system and incredible detail in their explanation of how things work. I only covered at some of the basics, but I strongly recommend you read it too. It's well optimized, a lot of fun, and encourages you to work with your friends to make up a strategy. 10 out of 10, fantastic system. To facilitate your combat carnage, you have a fuck ton of weapons and mechs to choose from, unlocking new ones at each level up of your license level. In a more classical role-playing game, you level up by having gained enough XP or at a milestone, which grants you new abilities and skills. In Lancer, you get those skills for your pilot. However, you also get to increase your license level, which determines what sort of tech is granted to you and from whom. But wait, don't we need to make a character somewhere with a character sheet? Well, yeah, you use CompCon for that. It's really easy to use. You start out at license level 0 and begin with an Everest and a huge arsenal of weapons from General Massive Systems. Lancer is one of those games where you can play the starting loadout throughout the entire game and be perfectly fine. They're all pretty damn solid. Once you level up, you invest that level into one of 4 megacorporations, who themselves can be nations in their own right. Each megacorp has 7 branches of licenses that you can invest into, and they all take 3 levels each, allowing you to get new systems, weapons, and mechs on each branch. You're free to invest your license level freely into each megacorp, letting you branch out and mix and match systems as you please. Investing multiple points into one corporation gives you some nice bonuses and upgrades to choose from. Each corporation is unique and has an interesting flavor, so I will cover them all and some of the stuff they give you. Now, let's talk violence. IPS North Star is a company that has its roots in the galaxy since the Union first began. They love cargo hauling and hate space pirates. They hate space pirates so much that they ally themselves with the PMCs that specialize in anti-piracy. And all this hatred is reflected in their mech design, focusing on close quarters brawling, breaching hulls, and brutalizing Houthi space pirates with the teeth of your serrated tungsten chain axe. These mechs are the ones that let you harpoon your fleeing enemies back to you, so you can rip them to pieces. Run a full marathon in about 2 steps as you charge them down like a winged hussar. Or make yourself into an invulnerable fortress as you rip them apart with your Leviathan heavy assault cannon. You want to know what it's like not to have the word subtlety in your vocabulary? Do you want to know what it's like to be a living battering ram whilst loudly shooting and slamming your way to victory? Pick North Star. The Tortuga is all I mentioned above and more, and mechs like Nelson, Drake, and Blackbeard will never leave you dissatisfied. Violence tested, Korn approved. Smith Shimano Corpro is a quality over quantity expert. In our world, they would be the Henschel of mech making, except not making overweight, underpowered, unreliable garbage. But no matter what they make, it will be expensive, specialized to high hell, and unbelievably powerful. Their bread and butter is elegance, precision, and standoff lethality. After all, you can fire 5,000 or 6,000 bullets.
Or just one.
Smith Shimano was an important company during the first colonization of the galaxy, and is the second oldest one around, only beaten by General Massive Systems that gave you the Everest. Their mechs are not designed to brawl like Northstar. They're designed to dodge, to weave, and to win with as few shots as possible, and also to be as independent as possible. So, if you're filthy rich and want to style on the poor whose mechs cost less than the bullet you shot them with, this is the company for you.
My pals on the private island would love to hear about this.
Equip a railgun and penetrate anything in a straight line, no matter how many there are. More than one enemy to deal with? A monarch will serve your needs well. Equip all the missiles and deliver divine punishment for their crippling mediocrity. Or perhaps you want to show them the beauty that only money can buy by projecting your image across the battlefield. And if they aren't looking, just equip a neurospike, and not only will they see you, they will not be able to even start screaming when they inevitably do. Or you can do what I did and go into battle as a metal mark and play like a mechanized Yautja. Money can buy you the goods, but only cuts and bullet holes leaves the message. Your core power will make you unseen, but your weaponry and your direct violence will make sure you're known. Because that will be the only evidence you were ever there in the first place. Or you can go a morning cloak, that's okay too. Harrison doesn't fuck around, and neither does their ambitions. They were around during SecCom and wants to return the Union to that era. As such, their corpo state is an imperialist dream where quality and quantity meet brutality and dominance on both the battlefield and outside of it. Harrison features some of the most advanced mechs in the universe and are known to be both sturdy and reliable. Unlike the money-laundering pompous femboys at Smith Shimano and the fat, glue-huffing truckers at Northstar, Harrison aims to make the only choice that matters: firepower. Siege their depraved cities with the Barbarossa and fire the Apocalypse Rail. Burn their unworthy populace with the Genghis and vent your frustrations on them with the Krakatoa thermobaric flamethrower. Unleash hundreds of thousands of green parrot mines with the Iskander, so no street is safe. Then finish them off by sending in the trusty Shermans and take aim on their government buildings and remaining defenders, and then pull the trigger to the solid core cannon and the ship that tries to escape your grasp. One word: Tokugawa. Okay, now, these corporations are quite direct in their approach. They use conventional weapons that, in the end, mostly follows the laws of physics. But what if that's not in your interest? What if the laws set by both sides are merely the edges of your operational territory? Because you don't operate in the open. You have no paper trail. There's no documentation to look up, no red thread to follow, because you operate on the divine commandments of your omnipotent master.
Can you feel the fate of wrong guide you? Can you feel their chains on your neck?
Horus is fucking terrifying. Out of all the other corporations, Horus is the most esoteric of the bunch. They operate in the legal gray areas where the Geneva Convention isn't being specific. I don't know about you, but I never read the laws against weaponized memetic code that causes inflammation of the brain, massive ocular and cranial hemorrhages, and death. Because that's what the Gorgon does to you, as it releases the Basilisk, a string of anticognitive, hyperfractal visual data. But hey, that's what it does, besides shooting you with a Vorpal gun. And the Hydra? There's no standard to the Hydra. Just be ready that what you're facing may suddenly disconnect its limbs from itself and dismember you. Or, fuck, just electrocute your entire team instead. And that's the older model. The precursor to something worse, the Baylor. Just as varied as its appearance, but far less intact than the Hydra. Because the whole damn thing is just a nanite swarm, and shooting it is like shooting angry water. Oh, and Lord forbid you drew its ire in close combat, because once it gets to you, the hell swarm is going in a hive frenzy, and stripping you atom by atom, so it can add your pieces to the hive. And perhaps somehow you got a hold of a weapon strong enough to damage the Horus. That won't be enough, because whatever you fired, the Pegasus will fire back, and do it better than you did. And if somehow you have committed a sacrilege foul enough in the eyes of Ra, and the Manticore is on its way, just lay down your arms and pray it will be swift. You know it won't be. But eventually, it should be over. Great factions all around. Very cool. 10 out of 10. Pants shitted. Let's move on. While combat is the focus of Lancer, roleplay does get some action too, but it's a different story. I wouldn't say that it's undercooked or an afterthought, but it's clear that it isn't the main focus. For example, you're never going to talk your way out of a combat mission with the enemy. You're a Lancer, and your expertise lies in your combat prowess. You're sent here to engage in combat with the enemy and leave the diplomacy to Union. If anything, you were probably sent here because diplomacy has failed, and now they need a combat specialist who can put credibility behind the threats. So please, don't try and talk to the cataphract. He's only gonna pull you back and do awful things to you. Despite this, there should be many opportunities to engage in roleplay, even with the enemy, and there's a whole system for doing that too. Between combat missions, you get the opportunity to have some downtime, where you can progress plots, projects, or personal stories. Days, months, and even years can pass in downtime, depending on the pace of the game. And when making a character, you get to pick a background, or even make one yourself. As a central character to the story, your plot will have moments when their background, training, and personality will shine through. These moments are your pilot's triggers, short phrases that describe key decisions and actions. When one of your character's triggers is relevant to a skill check, you get a bonus to the roll, but only if you have picked that particular trigger, which you get 4 of at level 0, and gain more as you level up. For example, someone in the canteen calls Rory and Samson a weak little bitch. Rory has stay cool and does well on his roll, meaning he'll keep drinking his soup and not pay him any attention. Meanwhile, Samson does not have stay cool and chooses not to even roll for it. Instead, she applies fist to faces and beats him bloodied with the soup bowl, then threatens him that if he ever calls her a weak bitch again, she will snap his pelvis in 16 different areas while feeding them their own unwashed scrotum. And then Bale fails to read the situation, flips tables, and starts barricading the mess hall, while she declares it a sovereign anarchist state. Sadly, that didn't actually happen. Cantinia doesn't exist. Despite this, there is one thing that certainly does exist. Camaraderie. Lancer is a very collaborative game, more so than most TTRPGs if you ask me. As such, this video is actually a collaboration with my friends and acquaintances. It's made with the people I've gotten to play Lancer with, and some of those I know I would like to play with. As such, I edited this video in the spirit of our combined characters. That's right, this video was an OC shill all along, and you've sat through it all. So before we hit the grand finale, let me give you my conclusions of the game. It's fantastic. It's a massive breath of fresh air to be playing this game that is so well-rounded. Its rules are easy to figure out and don't leave you with unanswered questions for how certain things work. It doesn't make you or expect you to house rule a ton of shit. Throughout the game's battles, you get to experience a system that doesn't play with needlessly high numbers to make it interesting. You will get stronger as you level up, but you'll just not be able to spam fireballs until everything goes away. A battle is a life and death struggle, and here you get that feeling. Yes, you are the game's main character. You are exceptional, but you're not invincible. And if you get complacent, you may bite the dust. But the thing I find the most important about the whole game is its setting. This is a place where the majority of people are happy, living fulfilling lives and being able to respect one another. To be a polyglot of cultures that can not only work together and live under the same umbrella, but also care about being able to do so. They all know the history from which they hail and do not want to repeat their mistakes. As such, they see value in being able to agree and disagree, being able to express their thoughts and grievances, building bridges and seeing other perspectives, trusting in their institutions and holding them to purpose. I think this game can teach us something great. We live in a time with lots of misinformation and misdirection. We lose track of what's real and fiction, and even what we value and believe in. This is a future that people made by being able to believe in it and build towards it. And in spite of their follies, they made it here. They took the steps and they made it. So what I want to try and tell you is simple. Don't fall to doomerism. Don't let fearmongers shape your reality. And don't stop believing in a better tomorrow. Because a new dawn is just one night away. The core book alone has over 400 pages of content to get you started, and most of the art shown in this video comes from that book. Right now, the core book PDF is available for $25. Their campaigns and modules go for $10 to $25 online, and you can buy their hardcover book for $60. Go buy it, get it, and don't even think of going full PvP. The game is not optimized for it, so work with your friends and you will achieve victory. Ooh, and speaking of victory, let's get together and make the final hoorah. Let's end this video the way it deserves.
with ultra-violence!
Lancer Team, this is Captain Jonas speaking. Ahead of you lies a city that has been captured by the enemy. Your mission is to eradicate all the hostiles. Leave none alive. Let them know why you're called the Hellraisers. Give me a roll call inside. Jonas out.
I got a file here, in straight position.
They won't see this coming.
Oh, no, you won't.
Take me to shop. Now.
Hazard pay on station. Projecting the cloud counter. They won't get through.
They're not getting out of this. I'm scared.
Seems no problem for Astronova.
Like a good pilot, pop-up is here. Maybe I'm born with it. Maybe it's my non-specific brand shampoo.
Reloading. Get ready for another round. Their positions in my sight. Let's blow them to pieces. I'm getting flanked. Ricochet.